Today I want to talk a little bit about nutrition, specifically 3 of the most common mistakes I see when people are starting to pay attention to their nutrition and track what they're eating in an attempt to lose body fat or put on muscle. Whatever your goals, the mistakes are generally the same, but for the context of this post, let's just assume that you are intending to chase fat loss or weight loss on the scale. So the number one biggest mistake that I see people continually making over and over is not adhering to the process. And what I mean by that is they don't give themselves enough time to be consistent before they go making changes. So what that typically looks like is people who are really gung-ho about tracking or being really on for 2 to 3 days, and then they fall off the wagon, so to speak. They're either on or they're off. And then they assume, well, this must not be working. Another common example that I see is I will give somebody a suggestion for calories to try to hit, and they'll follow it for a week and they won't see any weight loss on the scale. So again, they assume that it's not working, and then they want to make quick changes. Unfortunately, the problem with this is that weight loss is rarely linear and rarely does it work at the pace that you want it to. Again, that can apply to weight gain or loss, but again, assuming that you're chasing fat loss here, it's never going to go as quickly as you want it to. Sometimes people go 2, 3, sometimes even 4 weeks, depending on your metabolism, of consistency at a level before they'll sometimes see any drop in the scale. So it does require a certain degree of patience, and I will be the first to say that I know that that's extremely frustrating, but again, I think that people are way too quick to make changes when if they just stayed where they were for longer and gave their bodies a chance to get used to the caloric intake and to actually build some, patterns there, they would see the result that they were looking for. So that's the first. The second is the urge to drop calories too low. And again, at first glance, that might seem appealing because you are going to get to your result faster. But what ends up happening 9 times out of 10 is if somebody drops their calories too low, that's all well and good, and most people can white knuckle their way through that for 2 to 3 days or even 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how motivated you are. But what's going to happen is if you continually are chronically under eating, you are going to set yourself up for a moment when your body no longer can stand it and you are going to binge. So that tends to present itself a lot more commonly in my female clients who think that they need to be eating 1,200 to 1,500 calories to lose weight. And they'll do that for a couple days or a week or whatever, but then Friday rolls around, they get a glass of wine in, and then suddenly that screw it mentality comes in and they're eating 3,000 calories. And suddenly that, deficit that you were in all week is completely canceled out, and you've not only, maintained your weight, you might have even put on weight because you ingested so many calories during that binge. So what I like to do is have people eat more food overall. So that might look like 1,800 to 2,000 calories. I'm just coming up with random numbers here. It's completely individualized per person, their activity level, age, metabolism, all that fun stuff. But if it's a slightly higher caloric intake overall, you're going to be more satisfied, it's going to be more sustainable, and you're going to have less of those urges to binge. The final thing that I see people do way too often is think that when they work with a nutrition coach like me or make a concerted effort to eat healthier, that they need to overhaul everything at once and that suddenly they need to become this meal prepping guru of Pinterest recipe creation. And no, take that pressure off yourself. Here is my dirty little secret. The less fun and exciting your meals are, more likely you are to stick to them. Now, I don't mean that you shouldn't enjoy what you eat, because I 100% believe that you should enjoy your meals. But I think that there's something to be said for taking out that decision fatigue or that, desire to make things super complicated. Make things easy. If you know you don't like meal prep, you don't have to do it. You can get a pre-made rotisserie chicken from Kroger or Whole Foods, make a bag of rice, nuke some frozen veggies. The end result is the same. It doesn't have to be glamorous. I tend to eat the same 4 to 5 meals. Now I might get a little more complicated than that sometimes with, making a soup or chili or something, but I'll eat the same 4 to 5 breakfast, lunches, and maybe a slightly larger rotation of 7 to 8 dinners. But the less guesswork you can take out of it, the less chances you have to mess up, so to speak, or to get yourself in a position where you're like, it's so complicated, I can't spend 5 hours of my day meal prepping or, logging 900 ingredients into MyFitnessPal. So those are 3 things that I think that you should think about when trying to make any nutrition changes. Don't be so quick to make changes. Resist the urge to drop your calories too low, and don't try to be a domestic goddess.